think back in the day, they used to have a few arguments. When Ty got bored in the villa, I think he just used to argue with Ella for something to do and then just laugh after it.
Because remember one time you guys were having an argument and it was like, you're making a scene, and Ty was like, I want to make a scene.
The villa is very toxic. I think the producers are doing this just because they're heading into finals week, and I think they are trying to create as much chaos as possible. That way, the public can vote out the people that the producers don't want to win, and then leave out their shining couple, which I assume is Zach and Molly. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island, Season 10, Episode 46. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, a comment, and turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. Personally, I don't think any couple should win this season, really. For love, anyway. I think for entertainment value, yeah, maybe. But I don't think any of the couples are in love. Because though Ty has professed his love to Ella, I am still on the fence with that. It seems a bit too well orchestrated in the sense that we came from the most popular couples and then suddenly he's declaring his love for Ella. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. But with reality TV, you never know. Maybe the producers put him up to it. He seems to be very caring towards Ella, but I don't know whether that translates to love. They sort of come back from their little date. They're happy. They're chatty. And oh, they're all giddy. So I'm happy for Ella if it is definitely love, but we'll see. We'll see what happens long term. And you have Zachariah then go and pull Molly for a chat, and Molly's confused, and that's why Zachariah likes her. She's borderline obsessive about Zachariah because she told him she wanted space. He gave her space. Then she's complaining that, why did you give me space? I did not want space. And it's like, make it make sense. And the other thing that I noticed is when Zachariah pulled Whitney for a chat to sort of discuss what had happened with Molly and self, she told him, you need to apologize. And that was the first thing he did before they moved on. Yet with Molly, he didn't apologize. The only thing he said was apologies because they were now having a back and forth and they were sort of trying to rehash the situation. So I don't get, all I heard was him say, I never want us to spend time apart because I missed you. And that's it. I didn't hear him say, I am sorry for the way I behaved. I played that game like a stupid boy. I should have been more respectful of your feelings, and I hope we can move on from this. This is what I expected to hear from him. I didn't hear that. And then suddenly they're back to normal. They're doing their little handshake. And it's like, Molly, were you really upset? Or were you just trying to make a scene? Just so people don't sort of drag you for letting Zachariah walk all over you. That's the impression that I get. And then Scott and Abby go to the fire pit. They're having a conversation about the fact that they're happy that they're in a good place. You know, they've managed to get over the drama with Mitch and Abby, and Scott is happy for them to sort of have public displays of affection and for them to continue to explore their relationship. And it's like, I think Scott is a very calm guy, and so Abby, when she's with Scott, is very calm. Whereas when she's with Mitch, she's all over the place. She's very jumpy, she's very toxic, she's very confrontational, and Scott doesn't like all that. And then you have the peanut gallery. You have Ty and Sammy talking about Abby and Scott, and it's like, make it make sense. What business of yours is that? Because Ty said, you know, I don't think Ella's got over her feelings about Mitch, so I don't understand how you could get over your feelings that quickly, because she was really anxious when Mitch went on a date with Ella B. Sammy's saying the same thing, and it's like, Sammy, focus on your relationship. Your relationship is down in the gutter. So I think you need to work on that before you start telling somebody else how to work on their relationship. And then all the islanders, they get ready for bed. Everyone is in high spirits when they go to bed. You know, Scott and Abby are in a good place. Although Abby, I think, hasn't got over Mitch. I think the guys are right anyway. So Ella is excited because Ty's told her she loves her, and so Zachariah is happy for her. When they get to bed, they're sort of pillow fighting, and then she says, I love you, and Ty's encouraging the boys to repeat it, and he says, I love you too, and it's like, oh my God. Are we just saying it, or are we saying it because we mean it? Everybody goes to sleep, and in the morning, they're sort of having another debriefing for only God knows why. Because then, you know, Ella's on a high because Ty told her he loves her. Zachariah and Molly are happy because they're in a good place. Them taking time apart has really helped them. And it's just like, why? We really don't need this. It's the same old debrief. It's repeat. It's just copy and paste the same thing, same thing, same thing. Ella makes Ty a smoothie and a bowl of fruit, and it's like, oh, that's sweet. And I love Jess because then Jess asked, "Am I expected to make something for Sammy just because Ella's made something for Ty?" And you can see Sammy was expecting something. Sammy was expecting something, and it's like, how do you expect something when you haven't treated her very well? How do you expect her to be that nice to you when you've been horrible to her? I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. All the islanders are in a great, great mood, and it's surprising. And I think this is why the producers then sent a text message, and the islanders have to play a couples game. I think the couples try to let it be known how they felt, but I liked how people like Scott will always say shade the couple and then bring in something positive at the end, because like Ty and Ella, they were said they argue the most, and everyone has seen them argue. One time they were arguing with all the islanders staring at them just because Ty was throwing a straw because Ella had brought Uzi from Casa, and then the public display of affection, I think people don't understand. I think it's a cultural thing. I think they need to be aware that as much as everybody else is free to sort of have PDA, it's a bit different for Whitney and it's a bit different for Logan because they have families back home and they always need to make sure that they're still being respectful of their families, because I don't think Whitney's Nigerian mom would approve of her being all over Locken, no matter how much she loves him or how much she really feels him. At night, we're seeing them in bed doing God knows what under the duvet. So I think yes, they don't do PDA, but that doesn't mean that they don't have sexual attraction. I think people, it was the lack of understanding that everyone else can get away. What people like Ella B or Jess can get away with doing, someone like Whitney will get into a lot of trouble for when she gets home. So she still always has to remember that I have a family that I have to answer to when I get home, and so I have to do things responsibly. Otherwise, I'll embarrass my family if I go all crazy out here because everybody's watching. I think that the comments to say that uh, Locken and Whitney are smug was very sly of the islanders. I think they wanted to knock them off their pedestal just because they felt some type of way about Whitney and Locken being the public's favorite couple. I think certain people thought they were the favorite couple given the entertainment value, and so to see that Whitney and Locken are it, I think put a couple of people off, and they have their backs up, and they're looking for a way to sort of take Whitney and Locken off the pedestal. And the question about head turning, I think Zach was very messy with Ty because they encouraged a fight that didn't need to be there, because they all know that Abby and Scott and Ella B and Mitch don't get along. So to instigate, to sort of put fuel onto that fire and just stand back and watch them explode didn't make sense to me, and I didn't like that because they took pleasure out of somebody else's misery. I understand them saying that Abby sort of turned Scott down because she still wanted Mitch, and then they're worried that her head might turn, and Scott doesn't really seem interested. Scott is a very sort of logical thinker and so sort of very appears very reflective. So I don't think he's going to allow Abby to play him. I think he's always going to have his wits about him and make sure that he's not leaving himself vulnerable. So the idea that they felt that he's just in it just for the sake of being in it. What else do they want him to do? There's no one else for him to couple up with. So he might as well couple up with the only single person in the villa and see how far he can go on the show. Every time he couples up with someone, they have a problem with it. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, the game is over, and I'm so happy it's over. I guess the producers want the smoke going into the final week. Anyway, you then have Ella B and Mitch sort of having a conversation about how they felt in regards to the comments that were made by Abby and Scott. They're in their feelings. They want to talk to Abby and Mitch was going to talk to Scott, but I commend Ella B for saying, no, the four of us need to sit down, have one conversation, and move on. Because I think looking at it, Ella B and Scott are not in for the drama. It's Mitch and Abby who love the drama and who won't let it go. So I'm happy that Ella B is like Scott and wants to iron it out and just move on. On the other, by the fire pit, you have Abby and Scott sitting there having a conversation, and Abby sort of saying that, she is worried that everybody said Scott is not really feeling it, and if he's not feeling it, he needs to let her know so that she can move on and sort of just remain as friends, because she gets emotionally invested and she doesn't want to be invested if he's not invested. And it's like, oh my god, here we go on this Ferris wheel. Don't scare Scott off, because Scott is someone who likes peace. And if you're going to go all Mitchell on him, he's going to leave you and he'd rather be single. And then Ella's complaining that Whitney's not her friend because she said she's selfish. And it's like, if you're friends, you're going to be honest with one another. Someone who's not your friend is someone who tells you what you want to hear. If someone is going to be honest and sort of call you out when you're wrong and tell you when you're right, that's the sort of friend you need. So I don't get why she was in her feelings that Whitney called her out. That didn't make sense to me anyway. She then sort of walks across to the other side of the villa and it's like, why are you trying to make a scene? And Jess was like, oh, I think they're upset that they were not voted the favorite couple, and it's like there could be some truth to it. If anybody else had behaved the way they are behaving, Ty would have been the first person to say, "Oh, you people are upset because you weren't voted the favorite couple," and yet he and Ella are doing it, and it's okay. Everybody else should just get along with it and just, you know, sit down and watch them. And for him to say, "No, you all come to us," and it's like, why? Why? Well, we're smug. I give it to Whitney for saying, no, you voted us the smug couple. So what's the problem? One thing about Whitney is she's going to stand up for herself. She's not going to let anyone talk all over, talk crap to her, and she's not going to let anyone sort of put her down and not come back up. And I love that for her. Happy that Mitch, Ella Bate, Scott, and Abby were able to iron out their differences, and they were able to agree that they're happy in their new couplings and they want to move on. So hopefully there's no more drama unless the producers decide there is. Ella Orgy then decides she wants to have a chat with Whitney because Ty had encouraged her to have a chat. And during the chat, it turns out they're both upset. Whitney's upset that Ella said she was smug because she felt that they were very good friends and Ella should not have called her smug. Ella is upset because Whitney called her selfish and she feels that her friend should not call her selfish. And so they're having this back and forth. And Whitney says, the reason why I called you selfish is simple. You were in the shower. I asked you how long are you going to be? And then you went on to take an extra 20 minutes. Which I think, if you are in a communal shower, it doesn't make sense for you to take all the time knowing that other people are waiting to go in. I think she should have tried her best to be a bit faster, just to be considerate of everybody else. And I think on her part, Whitney was okay with being called smug by everybody else, apart from Ella. And she told Ella that you do know what smug means. You do know what it means. I'm the most humble person in the villa, and yet you called me smug. I don't, I'm not a show off. So what made you? Oh, so you're calling me selfish because I told you you were smug. It was part of a challenge, and it's like, if tables were turned and if Whitney had done the same, would you be saying that? It's just a challenge. And I don't appreciate Zacharias chiming up and saying, oh, Ella is saying the truth because Whitney tends to make these comments. And it's like, just because she makes the comments doesn't make her a bad guy. You're all thinking things and you're not saying anything because you want to stay in the villa. So you're all decided to focus your energy on someone who's open and is an open book and tells you how they feel and you know exactly where you stand with them. It doesn't make sense. I think Zachariah said that just because Ty is his friend and he was trying to impress Ty. I am happy that Jess said, no, I'm not involving myself in that mess. When Molly said, shall we go over there? I think it's a good thing they left them alone to sort of iron out their differences. I think they're both. I think Ella didn't like being called selfish, even though she does have selfish tendencies. The way she spoke to Ella B about Ella B sitting in her chair where her stuff was terrible. She didn't even say please and she didn't say thank you. The way she carries herself around the villa, she carries herself, I think she should have been voted smug as though she and Ty are better than. So her calling Whitney that didn't make sense to me, and their argument, I think, would have been something that should have been resolved. I think they were not as close as they seemed to be. I think Catherine was the glue that held them together. That's the impression that I'm getting, because Ella tended to spend most of her time with Jess and would come here and now, whereas Whitney would always be with Catherine. And I think Whitney assumed that her relationship with Ella was just the same as her relationship with Catherine, whereby maybe they were very honest with one another. Because I want a friend that's honest with me. I don't want a friend who tells me what I want to hear. I've got, you can get other people to tell you that. You don't need your friend to lie to you. But anyway, I digress. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye, everyone.